How to manage delays in construction projects. I've talked to you about this before from a very, very detailed standpoint, but in this, I'm going to give you a general strategy, one where I think we're going to have an aha moment and you're going to jam and know what we should do in order and then provide you some cool resources. So if you've come for that, you're in the right place. So firstly, I want to say, let me give credit where credit's due. When I was writing the book Tax Planning with Kate, was going over a section on how to manage delays, how to overcome delays. And I was talking to Hal Makeomer, who's a lean expert, and on a podcast, and I was talking about these ways, but he's like, Jason, I understand that, but the key comes down to preventing the variation from happening in the first place. And I do believe that that's key. So I keep mentioning these tools, and they're very important. This is so good. The master schedule, the master plan. That is so you can see major strategic problems and problems with your end buffer. Your norm level tax plan. This is where you see problems with the sequences and the diagonal trade flow, and where you really make sure that everything's networked together. A 6-week make ready look ahead plan that is specifically to make work ready so that you can actually ask the question, do I have the people, the tools, the equipment, the materials, the resources, the layout, the information for each task? And if it's a no, that is a potential roadblock, and the space, that is a potential roadblock that we need to remove. We're going to prevent that variation, right? The weekly work plan is the same thing, but this is where a higher level, hey, this doesn't have to be perfect kind of plan in the 6-week make ready look ahead plan needs to become a 100% committed, coordinated plan by the trade partners as they promise to each other that they will maintain and hit certain handoffs according to certain inch stones. And the day plan is the same thing, looking out the next day to make sure that we're clearing the road out ahead. So each one of these schedule formats, as filtered by the main plan, really help you to prevent variation and prevent delays. So that is the key. We want to do that first. So here's a little bit of a checklist. Do you have a really remarkably designed trailer? Do you have all of the scheduled deliverables that I just talked about? Are these on visual boards where you can see your zone maps and your logistics plan? Are you taking time out in the meetings and huddles to look for problems out ahead to reduce variation? Have you aligned the supply chain between the first planners and the last planners? This is key. So if you're doing that, you're going to prevent a lot of problems and variation. So that is where I want to start. You can only do that if you have your crystal ball. Let me go back to the crystal ball analogy. I've used it many times, but in the Lord of the Rings, well, Kate and I, we don't do it anymore. I think we watched it too much, but we used to watch the Lord of the Rings, I think every year, and The Hobbit. I just love those movies. I know they're not accurate to the book, but I love those movies. And there's this crystal ball, this palantir that the wizards use to see. They're seer stones, right? And I know that that can be a touchy subject in religious circles, but it's a movie. I'm just referencing the movie. The wizards have a set time that they look into the crystal ball. They have the ability to see other places or in the future. They know what they're looking for, and they know what they're going to do about it based on what they see. Your scheduled deliverables are like crystal balls. You have set times to look at them. You know what you're looking for. Once you see what you're looking for, you know what to do about it if you see something that's off. So using the crystal ball analogy, just remember that each of those scheduled deliverables are crystal balls that will help you to see the future, identify and prevent, and remove roadblocks, which reduces variation. Now, if you can't reduce variation and you can't get rid of these things, then what you need to do is like and subscribe to this channel. But actually what I meant to say was, then you need to have buffers in the system, okay? In the tax production system, you can easily gain buffers. We go all through that in the book Tax Planning. The key here is you have got to have something, a buffer that will make up for a possible delay. Okay? And there are two different categories, and I want to be clear about that. There are foreseeable delays and there are unforeseeable or unforeseen delays, meaning controllable delays, non-controllable delays. Like what I mean by that is like if you know that the crane has to take a certain path to the project site or it's going to hit a bridge and delay the project, or there's a risk of it happening, that's something you can see, plan for, reroute the deliveries and prevent it from happening. Let's say there's a massive earthquake or a hurricane, or I'm going to be ridiculous here, but a nuclear bomb. Like that's like a force majeure type situation. It's what people call acts of God. You can't foresee it. These are things that you couldn't have expected, or that a designer or the owner was going to randomly, I don't mean that negatively, but randomly change a part of the design on the building. You couldn't have anticipated that. So while I'm not asking you to get frustrated about the changes and the variation you couldn't see, I'm asking you to prevent the things that you can see, okay? And we use the tools to do that. So let's talk about buffers. Here's how we do it. In your macro level tack plan, we have a calculator that will tell you if you're in the right range and if you have a good contractual promise. And then from there, once you do a pull plan, verify the sequence, identify the right number of zones with the trades to optimize it, then your macro level tack plan inclines a bit without hurting trade partners or shortening their duration, and you gain time ahead of your milestone. Those buffers are specifically there for you. And so, like when I think about buffers, like I love this idea. Between train cars, there's a buffer. When we were out at the lake this last weekend, there's a buffer. There's a plastic bumper in addition to what we had on our boat. It's a buffer to create a space between the boat and the dock with the waves, so that if something happens, it's not going to damage the boat. There are buffers everywhere, right? It works, buffers work everywhere in life, and we need to have them in our production plans as well. And so the purpose of this, we want to first see and prevent the roadblock in the 6-week look ahead. The best is to see it in the 6-week look ahead. The next one down from that is to see it in the look ahead plan. The next one down from that is to see it in the day planning session. The next one down from that is, hey, we couldn't have seen this, let's eat into a buffer. But I'll tell you what we never ever do, we never ever rush and push and panic. So you have prevention and you have absorbing delays, which have to be done with buffers. I can't believe there's this much good content in this video. Like, I hope you're liking this video right now because it's so good, because we're combining it. I'm not saying I'm good. You can make that judgment for yourself if you like J Money, but like, this content is so good. So the normal strategies for absorbing delays in the tact format, the time by location format, is you can basically interrupt the tact time and eat into a buffer. You can interrupt the sequence and eat into a buffer. You can change the sequence to adjust for the delay. You can isolate a wagon or an area of a zone from the tack plan to isolate the delay. You can add, and this is key, this is not overburdening, swing capacity to help recover within the wagon itself inside the train of trades. You can add another trained crew. You can add more labor, which doesn't always work. Now you're going to have a productivity spiral. Or you could rezone these successor areas to smaller zone sizes to pick up the time, or like we said, eat into a buffer just generally, right? This is an eternal truth. Your trade partners are not just going to go use buffers willy-nilly. They're not just going to be like, oh, buffer, but trade partners aren't like that ever. They're not going to do that. You can totally trust them. You can totally have a transparent production plan. It's not a big deal. The key is, with any of these strategies, is aligning work in process with the capacity of the system. So let's say that you have a little graph. I'm just using my hands. Let's say this vertical axis is work in process and this is time. Your project has a certain capacity that the resources are able to basically produce, like that they have a capacity to produce that could be represented by a certain limit of work in process in time. And your work in process cannot exceed that capacity, meaning you have to align them. A lot of people in the industry will say a limit work in process or control work in process. I'm fine with control, I'm not fine with a limit, because you could go to extremes with that. Really, the word is align. Align work in process with the capacity of the system. And so whatever you're going to do to manage delays, you have to make sure that whether you're trying to bring in another crew or you're going to work overtime, which I don't recommend any of these, by the way, or you're going to attempt to do a little bit of an overlap in your production plan. This is not good because you run the risk of exceeding the capacity and increasing work in process. So my main rule for recovering delays is never exceed the capacity of the system, never overburden the resources. And then this is where you're going to hate me. I'm glad you already liked the video, but if you've done all of that and there's still a delay, you need to ask for an extension. And here's why I always say procurement plan in pre-con and now, production plan in pre-con and now. You go have an intelligent conversation with the owner. You may need to submit a time impact analysis and actually get an extension for time and dollars. At the end of the day, I want this to work for you. I'm going to create a Canva graphic for you that you can use to manage delays on your projects. I hope you love it. At the end of the day, like, literally just contact us if you need help. We do this all the time because we are working on billions and billions of dollars worth of work as a project support specialist, building the TAC plans, helping the teams implement the last planner system. We can help you. Just reach out and give us a call. I hope you've enjoyed this video. On we go.